Will an NXT wrestler win the TNA World Championship at WWE NXT Battleground 2025? It's predictions time, folks. Myself, Steve, and NXT Steve are in a hot seat, and we're going to be diving through the show with our predictions. But quickly, before we do, let's go through that match card and the order. We'll be talking about the matches today as well. Starting with the NXT Championship, Femi defending against Myles, Bourne of the No Quarter Catch Crew. We've got the Women's North American Championship on the line. Ruca defending against Kelani, Jordynne. We've got a six-man tag team match with Hank and Tank teaming with Josh Briggs going against Sean Spears and his group, the Culling. We've got Tony D'Angelo going against Channing Stacks Lorenzo. For the NXT Women's Championship, we've got Stephanie Vaquer going against Jordynne Grace. And what will be my main event of the show, the TNA World Championship on the line. Say his name and he appears. Joe Hendry will be taking on Trick Williams of NXT. That is your card. That is your lineup. NXT, welcome to the show. It's good to have you on board as always. NXT, yeah, NXT. I know I went and said NXT. Tried to sign it out. I tried to get away with it. Didn't quite work. I'm going to get you excitement levels for the show between 1 and 10.
Yeah, it should be a fairly good wrestling show. Again, we're at that point where like some of these results are fairly predictable. So I'm hoping that this is along the same lines as Backlash, and this is a really good wrestling show.
That's what I'm hoping for, because I kind of feel for you. I'm not going to give everything away, but I feel there could be some straightforward moments in the show. Not every match is predictable, but I think at least 3 or 4 of them I reckon are quite straightforward. And I think the other 2 matches will be quite interesting to see which way we go. However, I'm going to still say that my excitement level is about a 6 out of 10, pure because those 2 matches I'm really hyped for. The rest of the card, give or take, it's hit and miss for me. But I do feel, and I will say this, I do feel that this show, Battleground, is a very appropriate show. I'm going to give a bold prediction away very early in the show, because I think this is an appropriately named show, Battleground. It kind of says that you're defending your territory, which is interesting because you have the battle of TNA versus NXT for the TNA World Championship. And I almost feel like that could be smoke and mirrors for what I think of the way that this show could close out. I am expecting at the end of this Battleground PLE, I reckon we're going to get a Triple Eight invasion at the end of it. And I think that that's going to set up everything for Worlds Collide. So I expect, if hypothetically Femi is the main event of the show against Myles, Bourne, let's say whoever's walking away as the champion, the lights go out. We're expecting Dark State because that's what usually their shtick is. But instead, it's Triple A coming in and making an impact as the show goes off air. And do you know what would be quite fun? Not necessarily a flag, but something just to symbolize in the ring that this is our territory. Just that symbol at the end of the show of like, how dare they? WWE purchased Triple R, and actually now they're coming in and saying that they are better than NXT now this show's been put together.
Well, technically, they do own them, so dude. I mean, look, fantasy booking. I would love to see TNA throwing their hat in the ring as well. Do you know what I mean? This World Collides ends up being like a triple brand special, like SummerSlam 2019, where it was NXT Raw, SmackDown. Like, if we could do that again with TNA involved, I think that would be awesome. Not very likely, but the idea is always there. Do you know what I mean? Fingers, like, I can always hope and pray that something like that will happen. But yeah, I mean, look, they've got to do something to build this show, and hey, an invasion sort of angle makes the most sense. If they were to do it, the interesting part is who they use to bring in. So I don't know. I know Del Rio is obviously the champion, but I think they are booking. I think he's scheduled in a match at some point this week, I believe, which I believe is going to be the reason why he drops that title, and then whoever he's facing will be champion. So ideally, you'd want someone like El Vikingo in like world champion spot. If you're going to come him and put him like Femi versus El Vikingo, yes, please sign me up all day long.
Oh, I would love to see that match. There'll be a bit of early wish list there for Worlds Collide when it happens on June 7th. That would be pretty cool to see. And yeah, I mean, I'm not too familiar with all of the Triple R roster, and obviously who WWE is necessarily signed, because that's going to be the case from here, like who they're going to keep on moving forward. So it'll be interesting to see the dynamics and stuff with that, but I'm sure we'll get like an early build into it. So yeah, I'm pretty excited for the prospect of that. And I just think it just makes Battleground feel like a very appropriate name for a PLE as well. And we already technically have that, like I said, with TNA versus NXT, but to throw Triple A in the hat as well, just, I don't know, just adds a bit of extra spice and maybe give us some more talking points coming out of the show than necessarily maybe going in.
Yeah, hopefully. Like I said, they need, like, this essentially doesn't, like, we've been sitting here for a couple of minutes for what, 5 minutes now, and there isn't a lot of hype going into the show. And like we said at the start, there isn't a lot of expectations in terms of results. It's kind of like this has to be more of a wrestling based show. So you kind of want the hype at the end of the show to give you something to watch next Tuesday. And then, like I said, just start building towards World Collide, because Worlds Collide should be a really fantastic show, and I imagine it's probably going to be like a yearly thing like they used to do with UK and NXT back in the day on Rumble weekend. So maybe a case of this is, I'll say, will be the thing going forward, and we'll get AAA versus NXT every year. And it's just a great way to get, in fact, it's just a great way to get more eyes on AAA, because for years, like, their Triple Mania has been like one of the most funnest shows you can probably watch on a calendar year. And I don't think enough people ever see it. And it was kind of like, if you're going to watch one thing a year from AAA, it is Triple Mania. Yeah. So now WWE own the product. Their goal is obviously now to get more people to watch it. So I expect at some point in the future, we will be able to watch AAA on, like, Netflix, for example. So whether they rebrand it as well to NXT Mexico or whatever they want to do, I hope they don't rebrand it to NXT Mexico. They give it something more unique. Like, I don't want it to just essentially be a Mexican version of NXT. I want it to be its own thing, even though it essentially is a feeder system.
Keep its legacy, keep Triple A as what it is, because it has some name value. It's what WWE bought it in the first place. So I hope they keep that as well. And if, like you said, it ends up being a feeder system or a place where you can perhaps have some of your top Lucha Libre wrestlers come and be a part of the spectacles of the big shows that they want to do each and every year as well, to go with those up and coming stars. But like you say, this is a great opportunity as well to showcase those talents, get them in front of more of a mainstream audience and people that will probably, NXT is a perfect audience really, because that is a hardcore WWE audience. If you're watching NXT, there's a good chance you are a hardcore WWE fan. You're watching all the shows, and you're more likely to go and make the time as well to go and see Triple R. So it would be the perfect playground or battleground, if you will, for them to make their appearance this weekend. So let's see if that does play out. But we said some of the matches could be quite straightforward, but that's not stopping us to ask what match you're most looking forward to on the show.
I mean, I'd like to say the Open Femi match, I think, is the most obvious one, because I want to see what it's Myles Bourne, isn't it? For some reason, I keep getting it confused with Riley Osborne. Yeah, Myles Bourne. I just want to see what he can do when thrown into the ring with, like, the top guy essentially, and like see how he can, if he can hold his own. Like, this is a massive moment for him. Like, this is, like, I wouldn't say like his big call up to the main event, but it's like this is his testing point, and he has to put on some sort of a show here, or some sort of a spectacle, to say to Shawn Michaels, whoever's booking the show, look, man, I can be a top guy in NXT. So I'm really excited to see what that happens with that, and just Trick Williams versus Joe Hendry, just because the point is there that there's the whole, could Trick win the TNA championship? Do you know what I mean? So there is some sort of interest and intrigue into that match.
Absolutely, yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, obviously, Joe Hendry, Trick Williams is the one for me purely on the basis of this inter-promotional thing that they've got going on. I think that's just, there's an added level of excitement of, could we actually finally get a champion with a different rival brand actually winning a world title on the other side? So that there actually feels there's a possibility with that. The other match that I feel is most unpredictable, which I'm looking forward to, is Stephanie Vaquer versus Jordynne Grace. I'm not sure that's clean cut. From a match spectacle, I'm actually looking forward to Soul Ruca versus Kelani Jordynne, just because of the fact that they had a match NXT Heatwave last year, and that was outstanding. And I expect they're going to do more of the same here. But if I have to pick one match, and I'm going to stick it down to one match, I will go for Joe Hendry versus Trick Williams, just for the curiosity factor when it comes to this one.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, it's always going to be the case, and we've said this so many times before, until someone actually wins an opposing company's title, it's just, do you know what I mean? It's always going to have that intrigue around it.
Absolutely, indeed. Well, so let's go into the comments and we're going to get into the predictions. We're nearly 10 minutes into the stream already, just speculating what we think could be happening on this show. So make sure to hit the like button if you're enjoying so far. And get involved with your predictions as well. Pierre's not wasted any time doing so. Hello, guys, he says, and good to see you as always. His prediction will be that Jordynne Grace will become the new NXT Women's Champion this Sunday. And said he will be watching Battleground on Netflix. Got to love to see that. Aries in the house is thoughts on NXT defending their titles on TNA shows. Of course, only title defended was the NXT Tag Team title by Fraxium, and TNA defending their titles on NXT shows. Personally, for me, I'm going to take that away so we can see our faces a bit clearer. I actually think that it's exciting. It adds a different level of excitement to the shows because all of a sudden you are almost feeling the unpredictable factor and thinking, I never thought I would see this title defended on this show from an opposite brand. For example, a WWE title on a TNA show. It's even more shocking to see a TNA title being defended on a WWE show. And the fact that perhaps the title feels like it could change hands, I think just adds excitement levels up even further for me. I'm quite a fan of it.
Yeah, I am as well. It gets to the point where, like, this has to happen at some point because there's only so much hype you can do with it unless someone's going to win that title. And like, it's going to be a big moment when it does happen because it's going to go down in the history books. This is going to be the first time a WWE star has held a championship that wasn't a WWE championship. Like, it is a moment for the history book. So there is obviously the whole point where you have to make sure it's the right time, the right booking, the right person to do it. But there's always that intrigue. But like I said, it's just a case of, look, how many times are we going to get these cross-branded matches before someone actually does it?
It'd be interesting to see how it will play out. Renee Porter in the house, how we doing? Well, says, did you guys see the Booker T fell asleep during NXT? I personally did not notice that.
No, I didn't notice either. The only thing I saw with commentary was during I believe it was the opening match with Javon and is it Sean Legacy, I believe his name is, and Ashanti Theodonis, where like he was cracking up at the start with because Ricky Saints was on commentary, and that was the only thing I've really noticed about it. I kind of Booker T's not my favorite commentator, so I kind of drowned him out for most of the show. But does anyone know why he actually fell asleep?
Not a clue. Not a clue. You'd have to let me know of that and what segment it was, Renee, in the comments below. But he certainly was rescuing Trick Williams on that rap performance. That's one thing for sure. Because poor Trick, he was out of breath within 20 seconds, bless him. But he gave it a good go nonetheless. And props to him for getting out there and getting on the mic. Because, hey, I'm a man of experience. I know what it's like to get on the mic out there. It's not the easiest thing to do. Should we dive into our first match?
Let's go for it.
Let's go for it. So I'll tell you what, let's dive in then with the NXT Championship then. We've got Femi, the champion, defending against Myles, Bourne of the No Quarter Catch crew. Pretty much this was a bit of a shocker at the time. Myles Bourne winning a 25-person battle royal to get into the position here for a championship opportunity. Many thought it was a fluke, but the next week he was actually defeating Ethan Page to prove that, look, it's not a fluke. And well, Myles Bourne has made us aware of his disability, the fact that he's has got bad hearing and of course affects his speech as well. But this is not just about winning a championship. This is actually for people out there to show that he is someone that can be a role model, someone that can get the job done and show others that it's possible as well. It looks like it'll be a fun match, and this could be, dare I say, a breakout moment for Myles Bourne on the NXT roster because he's not been given quite an opportunity like this before.
I hope so. I just don't want it to be a case that he is martyred with being that guy that's like, I'm doing this for people that are like me stuff. Like, I get it. It kind of makes sense here. Like, it's your first ever sort of championship, like singles championship, big, obviously main event championship as well. But in terms of booking wise, don't make it his thing because you will limit this guy. If he is as good as he's been in ring and he is able to, like I said, I've said previously, I find him like in order. When he speaks, I know he has a speech impediment because of his like partial deafness, but I'm fixated on him. Like, he draws people in because of how he talks, because it's not like a case of being like sympathetic because of his condition. He just generally, the way he talks is just like like I said, it just enamors me. It just like wants me to watch him talk more and cut more promos. Like I just love the way he cuts them. But I don't want it to be a case of, look, this is your stick, this is your gimmick. You're going to be essentially the Titus O'Neil going forward because of it. Like if this guy is meant to be like a baby Randy Orton, then I want to see this guy go on and have 20 WrestleMania matches. Do you know what I mean? I want to see him be a multi-time world champion. Don't limit this guy because of it. And that's the only thing I worry about.
Yeah, I can understand that point of view. I think they could happen for a first couple of feuds. Like I say, he's used lines
100%.
to his advantage, and I think it's been very good with the way he's used some lines with Oberfern, for example, of like, I may have difficulty with hearing, but it's going to be loud and clear for the audience when I win the NXT Championship this Sunday at Battleground. Like, those lines are very good. You can imagine that obviously there's a little bit of a side story with this as well. Obviously, there was issues in amongst the No Quarter Catch crew. Charlie Dempsey is not happy that he's not the guy in this position. He's had a match with Femi. He has lost. He's been a little bit jealous of Myles Bourne, trying pushing Myles Bourne into the match with Ethan Page, where the number one contendership was on the line in that match as well. So I would imagine, I don't expect Dempsey to cost Myles here, but I can see that perhaps maybe Dempsey, if Oba retains, or even if Oba loses and Myles wins the title, I can see there being more friction and jealousy moving forward, that we eventually get Myles versus Charlie Dempsey. I would expect Dempsey probably would play on to the disability stuff, because that would get him heat and something that he, I think, could do with a bit more of at the moment, if I'm being honest. But I think, like you say, after that, then you need to move Myles Bourne on to other things. Like you say, he's been labelled the next Randy Orton with, I suppose, his look and the fact of some of his in-ring style as well. He's very good in ring. He's a fantastic in-ring wrestler, and this is an opportunity for that breakout moment, and I hope that WWE gives that opportunity, because there is a risk here that this could be almost one and done, and I hope that that doesn't happen for him, because there's a reason he's been put in this position. Otherwise, in my opinion, it should have been given to someone else. But at the same time, I'm pleased to see he won the Battle Royal. I'm pleased to see that he's here. Let's see how far he can go with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I imagine, like give my prediction away earlier. I'm thinking Oberfemi's going to retain, and we're going to get that show of mutual respect at the end of the match. And I think that's what they're probably going to use for Dempsey. Obviously, they have to be very careful about how they book this, if they are going to use his disability as a factor. But don't get me wrong, there are some creative ways you could use it, where it just be a case of, look, even the stuff that doesn't involve him, but because obviously he's partially deaf, it's like a case of, look, you can do stuff that people know that he's partially deaf. Like he used, like there was a good thing a couple of weeks ago when he actually used it as a joke. I think they were talking about he was doing the whole what thing, because I don't know if he was talking to Femi or Ethan Page in a backstage promo, and he is he's able to make a joke of it, but obviously you just have to do it in a very tasteful way, not make it tasteless, because at the end of the day, all they're going to do is cause problems for themselves. But creatively, there should be ways for them to do it, to make Dempsey look like a bad guy, split up the No Quarter Catch crew. I'd love to see Tavian Heights get a run as a single star as well, because he's like next Chad Gable for me, and I'd love to see what he can do in like a North American scene. Even both of these guys, do you know what I mean? So I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, as for prediction, I'm going to say Oberfemi retains.
Yeah, I've got the same prediction. I think Oberfemi is going to retain here with the championship, but I do think Myles Bourne's going to have this real breakout match and breakout moment. And I wouldn't be surprised if Dempsey's a factor in the finish. However, I'd prefer if it didn't happen. I prefer that they would do something like that as a fallout.
Let Myles get his flowers.
Yeah, exactly. Let Myles have the moment. Let it be near fall, near cut. And like you say, if there's that element of respect afterwards, that could be the thing where Dempsey on following weeks is a bit like, well, you couldn't get the job done, could you? And God, you shook the guy's hand afterwards. Like, come on, like that's not what we do in the No Quarter Catch. Just that sort of thing of the way Dempsey sort of seems to be. And like you say, I think the group is on a bit. It's on the road to Splitsville. And like I said, there's so many talented performers in amongst that group. They've gone kind of as far as they can as a unit. So I think it's time to split them up and see where they can go going forward. It looks like Bourne will be the initial push forward as the babyface. Tavion Heights, like you say, has got such great in-ring potential. Same as Bourne, really, to go very, very far. Dempsey then will have the heel moving forward, and hopefully can push him in a stronger position than NXT, the one he's currently in. And yeah, we'll see what goes on there. And obviously, Ren Sinclair as well. She's a very talented performer, but she seems to be in the background too much for my liking at the moment.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, I know what you mean. It's almost like that. Like you said, they've seemed to have come to a point where this faction is kind of done, and it's like they never really did anything. They were just kind of like these guys that were there to take losses. I mean, I remember Tavion and Myles having a great match with Fraxion for the tag team titles a couple of months ago, and it was just awesome to watch. And like I said, I think if you can either keep them two as a tag team, or, do you know what I mean, split them up, get them doing something. Dempsey, I just feel the need to do something with him, because he's kind of like, he's sort of there 1 week and then he disappears for 5 or 6 weeks. The other 3 are on TV and then he comes back again. And I'm like, they need to do something with him, because look, the guy's a great in-ring technician. Like William Regal's son, for God's sake. And it's like, they need to, I don't know, making him a big heel is probably going to be the best thing for him. And yeah, like I said, Ren Sinclair just needs to get more ring time, man.
Absolutely. I feel that Dempsey's, it's going to sound a bit harsh here, but I think still on the personality side is what's holding him back at this particular time, which is why he's not gone further, because in ring, it's there. I think the other guys, it's there in ring. They've always
British.
Absolutely. But they all spent time in TNA last year.
And yeah, that's what I mean. And that's great for them. Like, that's the whole point of this partnership with TNA. But just to touch on Dempsey, I don't think he comes across well on TV because of him being British. Like, because I don't think his accent translates well to TV. So you need to do something with him. You need to change his character, do something, give him, I don't know what, but they need to do something. Because yeah, look, dude, we're British, and I find Charlie Dempsey really hard to like just draw me in with a promo. I really struggle with it, because there's nothing different. Like, if you think of all the British wrestlers we've had over the years, he's nothing special. Like, you can go through like William Regal. When William Regal would talk on the microphone, he had this presence about him, and I just don't get that with Charlie Dempsey.
No, I think he still needs some more time. He's still young into the game, so fingers crossed it will come in time. And yeah, fingers crossed it will go well. But yeah, Obafemi is our pick anyway. Let's go into some comments and see what everyone is saying about this match. Get involved with your comments as well. If you're watching and you haven't had your say yet, feel free to get involved. Aries is saying, my prediction is Myles wins. My reason is you can't give him this Battle Royal win and then just roll the red carpet to hit him on the butt on the way out of Battleground show. Is it basically hit him in the butt on the way out? I personally feel that you can continue momentum. Like we said, that we've got storylines in place for Myles after this, so a defeat is fine.
Yeah, as long as they put the match together, like, to the point where, like, he needs a couple of really good near falls. He needs to, like, you need to get that crowd believing that he could win this title. This is, as I said, when we start talking about this is a showcase for him to make a point and be like, look, I can be a top guy in NXT. And this is that moment. Like, no one normally wins their title on their first try, especially coming from relatively obscurity. Like, he's not exactly the most prominently featured wrestler, and just to get him to win the Battle Royal, it's kind of like, look, you've now got a showcase. This is your point to prove that you can hang with the big boys, and do you know what I mean? You can put on a 5-star classic, and do you know what I mean? Deliver against the top guy in the company.
Certainly, indeed, absolutely. And let's see if he can deliver with that. Like I said, there's a lot to gain for Myles on this show. Noob says, as someone who has a disability, I'm going to give Myles Bourne some props. Absolutely, indeed. And didn't know that, Noob, by the way. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that with us. I'm going to go with my prediction now, and that's Oba for the win. Like you say, Bourne gets the props. Oba for the win. And Sid in the house as well, asking how excited we are for Battleground. We said we were sort of somewhere in the middle, but we think it's going to be a very good wrestling show, and certainly this break we could be some big talking points coming out of the show, some that we've discussed already, which you may want to rewind back for if you're just joining with us, or check at the end of the stream as we're going fully throttle now with these matches. We go on to match number 2, which will be for the Women's North American Championship. Sol Ruca going against Kelani Jordynne. This is pretty much a repeat of NXT Heatwave last year. The fact this time, though, Kelani is no longer the champion. It's Sol Ruca this time, and Kelani sort of had a bit more of a heel side as of late. Sol Ruca, of course, winning the Women's North American Championship at WrestleMania weekend at Stand and Deliver. Of course, she's got Zarya in her corner. Sol is the one that's, well, she's got a heart, isn't she? She's willing to give out title opportunities. Zarya didn't want to see that happen. Kelani needed to beat Zarya to get this chance, which happened this past Tuesday on NXT. A match which should be fantastic in ring. Zarya could be a factor on the outside. We'll have to wait and see. But what are your thoughts with this match between these two?
Yeah, like, it's pretty much that's it, really. Like, there isn't really much else to it. It's nice to see Kelani diving more into the heel side, and she's been very much babyface the whole time since she like initially won the NXT that North American Championship. And this is again another testing point for someone where, look, you've been a babyface. We're going to throw you in as a heel. We want to see how you do. And this is more about development, I think, more than anything character-wise. Like, Sol's just being that typical babyface that gives everyone a title shot if they ask for a title shot. They're like, we want shit to go through Zarya to get it. But if anything, I think this actually did more for the, I suppose, split between Zarya and Sol Ruca, especially with how like the match went down on NXT. I think I don't really want to be like saying that Kelani Jordynne is a third wheel, but I think she's a third wheel for another story that they're building to.
Completely agree with you on that one. I think I know where you're going with that as well. I might give you the honors in a couple of moments. However, yeah, I think that this match has got potential to steal the show in ring quality wise. I think that both of them had an exceptional match at Heatwave last year. I expect a similar run this time around. However, I'm not going to waste any time on the prediction. I think Sol Ruca is going to pick up the victory here. I think she's going to retain. I think that her title run, and I see a comment here, by the way. Eric said that I choose Kelani because my reason is that Kelani needs the belt back. Sol should just be a transitional champion. I agree with the second part because I do think Sol will be a transitional champion. I think that she'll be dropping the belt to someone else. NXT, I think you may have been alluding to who that bigger story might be.
Might be their tag team partner Zarya by the looks of it. Yeah, look, Zarya's come in and not really done anything. Like, she's kind of been left out of the main event scene because obviously you had Julia, Stephanie Vaquer, and Jordynne Grace, and Zarya's kind of been thrown into this tag team with Sol Ruca, and they've been doing all these weird bonding promo videos where, like, just it's not the presentation that I feel Zarya should get for how she presents herself. Like, she. Like, you imagine the whole time before she come here, she's on about walking through the wasteland of this apocalyptic world, and she's here to, do you know what I mean, turn heads and be this top star. And then you've got her the following week learning how to skateboard with Sol Ruca. It just doesn't make sense for me, like the presentation. So I think that Zarya needs a massive change, whether it's going to be in a heel or whatever. I think we're kind of missing a big top heel on the women's side in NXT, and I think Zarya could be that, depending on obviously how Jordynne Grace and Stephanie Vaquer work out, because, you know, one of them two should really be a heel, but I think Zarya should be the next big heel in the NXT women's division.
I completely agree with everything you just said there. And the thing is that the key sentence in this story already is how Sol is so giving and so happy to give championship opportunities away. And Zarya says, no, you should hold back. Well, hang on, you're giving everyone else a chance. Why not give me a chance? And all of a sudden, that's when you screw her over in the match and you make sure you win the title. So I think Zarya for now is going to be the women's North American champion in a couple of months' time. And that's where you can build that through the summer. But I agree with you with Zarya being like a top heel in the NXT brand, perhaps maybe towards the end of the year, perhaps going towards the top NXT championship. She's had to wait and bide her time. And it feels like her time now to really sort of break through is coming. And obviously with the likes of Sol Ruca, Kelani Jordynne, two women that currently right now are fighting for the women's North American championship. They are two that are also going to jump to that next level to the NXT women's championship, probably coming toward the end of the year. Because, I mean, the championship has existed now, the North American Championship, for 1 year now. Kelani was the first winner at Battleground last year. I think that this is, I mean, obviously it's been the longest women's mid-card championship currently in WWE. However, I think it's been the best booked over that time period. Looks like the women's Intercontinental Championship certainly is now going through a decent spell in the last few weeks. But I certainly think that Raw and SmackDown could certainly look at the way that this championship has been booked in NXT and show that this is how a women's mid-card division should be going.
Definitely agree with that totally. not much I can really add to that. It's pretty much bang on the head. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, I still think that both the NXT, I think the Intercontinental and US titles were both rushed onto the scene, and I don't think you needed to drop both on the same week in the same format. So I think they've kind of been bodged a little bit in that aspect. But yeah, totally. I was genuinely shocked that the NXT brand got a North American title before we got an IC and a US title. But props to it, like you said, it's been the best book women's mid card in the last calendar year.
Absolutely. Long may it continue. So we are, if I'm not mistaken, both going for Sol Ruca here to retain.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Let's go into the comments and see what they have got to say. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, share with a friend, subscribe as well, all that good stuff. And most importantly, share your predictions with us in the comments below. You get a shout out as well. Sid asking us, do we count the speed titles as championships in WWE? Absolutely. They're championships, but do I watch it? No, I do not.
The only reason I count them is because El Grande Americano is holding one of them.
Absolutely. Gracias. And Sol Ruca is holding the other one, double champion in WWE right now. Millennium Noob says, I believe Sol Ruca is winning, which means we agree with you, Noob. Absolutely, indeed. We'll move on to the next match in the meantime. It's Hank and Tank with Josh Briggs going against the Culling of Sean Spears group there with Nika Vance and Brooks Jensen as well. Not gonna lie, I've not really got too much to add on this match. I think it's a bit of a throwaway, this one. I don't think this needs to be on the card. I think I'd be quite happy for this to have been on the pre-show, but I do think there is a story bite of which I'll give in a couple of months after get NXT's thoughts.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. Look, it's been made on the Go Home show. Why? Like, they've just come off of Fraxium having such a good run with the tag team titles. They put them on Hank and Tank, and the first pay-per-view after they win them. This is the first NXT pay-per-view after Stand and Deliver, isn't it? Yes. The first NXT pay-per-view after they win those titles and they're not defending them. Don't get me wrong. The NXT tag team division is a bit lackluster at the minute, and it's kind of like you had Josh Briggs and apologies, I don't remember the Japanese guy's name. I always do it, always forget it. But like they were kind of like the only sort of one of a few, like maybe 2 or 3 established names, them, OTM, and not the podcast, but the Culling. It's like there's not many established tag teams, so to not have them defend them on the first pay-per-view, I just think is a bit crap, if I'm honest. Like, there were a lot of people wanting to see these guys win them, and now you're putting them in a 6-man. And I don't get what the Josh Briggs deal is. Like, I don't understand. Like, his presentation again is another one that's a bit weird because he's like, I'm a biker. Okay, what else? Like, he's just come off being a hillbilly redneck with the one that's in the Culling now. I forget. Like, I don't know. It's almost like they're struggling to find a character for him at the minute.
Yeah, Josh Briggs is kind of like great in ring. Like, obviously, the match of the year at NXT last year at Stand Deliver with Oba Femi, and I want to say it was Dijak. Who remembers Dijak? Where's Dijak at, by the way? He should be somewhere in the wrestling world, not just on the indies. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, the finding the right placement for him has been the difficult part. However, that could play into my prediction here because I also, unfortunately, can't remember his tag team partner's name from Noah. I feel really bad about that. But I think that the Culling are going to win this match. My reasoning for it is we need to set up a tag team challenger for Hank and Tank, so that makes sense of a 6-man tag team match here. Hank and Tank don't need to win it. But could it be a fact that perhaps maybe Josh Briggs is joining the Culling? Maybe he could turn on Hank and Tank and we get Brooks Jensen and Briggs back together as a team in the Culling? Or is insert name from Noah
Inamura. Yoshiki Inamura.
Has he really gone back to Japan? And is he actually secretly with the Culling and he's going to come and cost Josh Briggs?
I don't think they would have made a big deal out of Josh Briggs cutting a promo if he wasn't going to come back. Like he did a promo before the match this week and was like, I miss you, man. It's not fun without you anymore. You're basically foreshadowing. You're just telling us that the guy's coming back. I wouldn't think he'd be joining the Culling because it seems a bit. Again, you're taking away another perfectly good tag team. I think if anything, I think the Culling will win this, and I think he's going to be the saving. He's going to be the hero that comes back to help Josh Briggs and Hank and Tank stand tall, and then we're just going to get the inevitable face-off between Hank and Tank and Inamura and Briggs, and that's going to be their next tag team title, is those two. And I hate to say it, but I could see Briggs and Inamura winning those as well, especially, but with such a short run for Hank and Tank.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see how it will play out. For me, I would say if I got what I wanted, I would have Briggs join the Culling, because I think you can put Briggs and Jensen back together as a team where I think they naturally work together anyway. And it could be the fact that Briggs sees the light under the Culling and then Jensen forgives him. Nico Vance can kind of be like the backup guy, because I just don't buy him in the team with Jensen right now. So that's what I want to see. Will it happen? I think time will tell. But I still reckon the Culling win, because I think it sets them up as the next challenges for the tag team titles.
Yeah, the only thing I think is that what do you do with Nico Vance if Briggs does join the Culling? Because NXT just got this thing of like just having people in factions and they don't do anything. Like, I know the D'Angelo family, you had the guy, I can't remember his name, the guy that was just recently released, but I never saw him wrestled. It was always Stacks and D'Angelo. There always seems to be like this fourth wheel in factions in NXT that just doesn't do anything. And then, like I said, if you put Briggs in the Culling, what does he then do? He becomes a fifth wheel that doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I get your point. I would have him as the enhancement member of the group. Sometimes you need to have someone that loses matches like that protects the group as well. So that's kind of what I would do in that scenario. But hey, we'll see what goes down. Let's go into the comments and see what everybody is saying about this one. We've got, Joe, we've actually got a matching opinion here. Aries here saying this, going for the Culling, and saying that Briggs might turn on Hank and Tank. That would be interesting to see if that is the case. Apparently, Dijakovic, whichever you prefer, is some of MLW. There's a reason I don't see him on a weekly basis. Don't watch MLW. Probably should be. It's a good promotion. Are we a huge fan of Sean Spears?
Yeah, I just don't think he's ever booked right. I don't think they give him. No, I don't know. He's a guy I feel that needs a microphone every week. He needs to be cutting a promo, because otherwise, I don't think he gets. There's nothing unique about his presentation apart from the fact he has a really short mohawk, if that. Like when he was the chairman in AEW, I was like, what a unique persona, and he comes out with a steel chair. If you'd have put a microphone on that guy every week, I think he would have done so much better. And at the minute, I feel like he's just come back to almost be like the gatekeeper, like the new Cassius Ohno to NXT. Like, that's what I feel like Sean Spears is at the minute.
So actually leads on to that question that follows here. Was he better in NXT or AEW?
I mean, did he ever win a title in AEW? I think did he win the TNT title? Maybe.
No, because
I'd probably have to say NXT, because he's been North American champion. So maybe you'd have to say that.
Absolutely, and he's tied in during NXT as well. So NXT for me, huge fan is a stretch. Am I a fan of Sean Spears? Yeah, I think Sean Spears is decent. I think he's got his placement on the roster and in amongst NXT, and I think it's the right placement for him, and it seems to work perfectly for him as well. So yeah, long may that continue. We'll move on in the meantime to our next match. Then it's Tony D'Angelo versus Channing Stacks Lorenzo. Obviously, there's been a little bit of tensions in amongst the D'Angelo family, and on WrestleMania weekend at Stand and Deliver, it crumbled. Stacks costing D'Angelo the match, of course, for the family against Dark State at the time it was. And since then, we've seen Stacks seemingly kill off Luca Castafieno. I have to say quickly, he is not released. He's still on the NXT roster page. He's still on the NXT roster page, not on the alumni page.
I must have been getting my name mixed up with. I'm sure. Oh, I must have thought one of the sort of non-existent releases, because I thought that's how they sort of killed him off TV. Was Stacks murdered him and got rid of him or whatever? I don't know, man. I thought I must get it. Like, there's too many new names, man. Like we say every week, not remembering Inamura's name because we just don't remember it. There's too many names.
There's too many. There's a lot going on that NXT roster, and a lot of them are interchanging week in, week out. You don't see them for.
And now you've got the two new LFG people that have come in. Don't know their names. And they won contracts. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm sure I'll learn it. I should really remember the guy, especially after he attacked over Femi this week. Don't remember it.
Give it time. Give it time.
Give it time.
Be patient with us. That's all we'll say. But one thing's for sure. Yes, we're not seeing Luther for a while, and also Rizzo as well. Tony D'Angelo sent her home for the time being. And I believe Stacks went to go and pay her a visit as well, if I'm not mistaken.
He did.
So yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see what the fallout with that will be. Obviously, Stacks wants to be the leader of the family. Tony says that Stacks only thinks about himself, so he can't handle the responsibility. Look, I'm going to keep this one short and sweet because I think it's the match I might be least invested in on the whole show, and that's probably a crime to say here. I think we're sending Tony D to the main roster, and I think that pretty much Luther and Rizzo are coming back here, and everyone's turning on Tony D here, and Stacks is picking up the victory.
Do you know what that sounds like? Do you know what, it actually sounds remotely interesting as a reason why I want to see it now? Because yeah, I would like to think the same, and Stacks becomes the new head of the family. It's just a case of how do you get Tony over on the main roster if he's not the head of his, like he's not the Mafia Don. Do you know what I mean? Because now he goes from being the Don of NXT to the Don of WWE if he goes up to the main roster. But if Stacks takes over as the Don, what does Tony D'Angelo just becomes generic gangster on the main roster?
Either that or Stacks and then break away and start their own family, their own Don vibes. I don't know. Extras.
I think Stacks needs this win anyway. I think it's like I don't think this is. I don't think that I don't think that Tony's going to go main roster yet. I think he needs to get his win over Stacks before then going on to the main roster. So I think the Stacks picks up a win here. We get a repeat of this somewhere down the line, and that's when we get Tony up to the main roster, because I think Tony needs to go up as the Don. I can't see him losing the title as the Don and then going up to main roster and being just Tony D'Angelo.
Especially as I think Stacks will be a tag team wrestler not long after this with Luther. So yeah, I kind of agree with you. I think that the tag team division is crying for Stacks, Luther, and for Rizzo. But yeah, Tony D at the meantime will probably lose on this show. And if Tony does win on this show, I probably will ask the question, what was the point of putting it here? It could have been a spot for someone else. When you've not got a Ricky Saints and Ethan Page, Javon Evans, Jada Parker, Lola Vice, all these sort of big names missing. And I just sort of feel myself, this is a match that I'm just not that invested in. Sad to say, but it's a bit true.
Yeah, it's just saying because I think Tony's missing the NXT Championship. He's won everything else. He's missing that NXT. I think he's just in the, like, I don't mind them doing a story with him to keep him out of a title picture, but how do you get him back into a title picture after this? That's the problem.
Yeah. I don't know. It's yeah. Like I say,
I'm glad I'm not booking that one. Put it that way.
Yeah, this one ain't my bag. That's all I'll say for this one. But Alex Alberto, G says, what happens to Adriana Rizzo? I think she's with Stacks. I think that's what's going to be. That's why he paid her a visit. I think she's going to choose her side. I think it'll be Stacks, and I think it'll be Luther as well. I think that he had a good sleep in the trunk, Luther, and I think that he realised after that, or Luther. I'm not sure. The names are getting a bit wrong here.
Technically, we didn't actually see what Stacks did, so there's no need to think that he's been locked in the boot for the last 2 months. So who knows, man?
As long as he's fed him, he should be all right. But Aries chooses Stacks as well. And I said there that Stacks may get some help in this one. Sid says that WWE should make Tony D'Angelo a gangster, beat the crap out of Stacks. Well, he might beat the crap out of Stacks after this, but like I say, I think it's counterproductive if Tony D wins this match, but that's my personal opinion. And Addy is watching from California as well. Just make sure that you subscribe while you're here, Addy. Thank you for joining us. People will know where I'm going with that. Anyway, we'll move on to our next match. Let's go for the NXT Women's Championship, shall we? Really looking forward to this match. Stephanie Vaquer versus Jordynne Grace. Look, this is pretty much the two top names in NXT right now, vying for the Women's Championship. Who is the best? Jordynne Grace defeated Julia to get this spot here on this show. Thoughts and feelings with this match? Do you see like a heel turn or something? Or is it going to remain two faces?
I think it remains two faces just because depending on what happens with Jada Parker, I think Jada Parker should be next top heel to take that title for someone. And I think that you need to have these two stay as face. This is probably the hardest one because I could easily see that Stephanie retains this and then Jordynne wins it in the next match. And then we bring in Jada Parker, maybe. I don't know. It's probably the hardest one to call just because Stephanie's had that title for a minute now, and it's kind of like, okay, I can see Jordynne winning it. But then I can also see, like I said, I can see Stephanie retaining just because it's been a minute, but it's not been 2 minutes. Do you know what I mean?
The thing is with this match, which makes it so difficult to call what way it's going to go, is the fact that Stephanie Vaquer has had exposure on Raw. Roxanne Perez has had exposure on Raw, and now she's signed to Raw. Julia's had exposure on Raw, but she's now signed to SmackDown. Is Stephanie Vaquer, who is also clearly ready for the main roster, the next one to get the call up? And in that case, Jordynne Grace then would win the NXT Women's Championship. However, Stephanie's only had the title since Roadblock. I mean, we're talking it's March and we're only in May. It's 2 months. Like it's been a minute, but I mean, I don't want to see too much hot potato action going on with this NXT Women's Championship. It's changed a lot already for where we are in 2025 with 2 title changes already. A third one at this point just feels like it might be a little bit too much for me.
Yeah, I mean, there is something I've just thought about now, and this is probably going to sway my opinion now, is the fact that we do have Worlds Collide coming up. And I think having Stephanie Vaquer as NXT Women's Champion for Worlds Collide is a bigger mark-in moment because she is this, I believe she's from Chile, I believe. She is like South American, and having Worlds Collide, having her as the NXT Women's Champion is probably going to be more beneficial for that show. So I'm probably going to be swayed with a prediction and say that Vaquer retains, and then Jordynne Grace probably picks this up in the next match that will happen after Worlds Collide, and then you introduce like Jada Parker in as top heel to take on Jordynne Grace.
Yeah, I think that you've hit the nail on the head. I think Jada Parker is the top heel going forward for women's side in NXT. She's shown that with her recent things backstage, especially with Fear Hell this past week. And yeah, I mean, Stephanie Vaquer, Queen of Lucha Libre, there could be a interesting story how you can make a battle there for Worlds Collide. So I think you make a lot of sense of what you say there. And I think it's too soon for her to drop the strap. I think Grace at this point will need to go back to the drawing board. And I think that it will make an interesting match next time around.
Yeah, if anything, I could see a screwy finish just to protect Jordynne. Like, I wouldn't want Jordynne to lose this clean. I think we need a Jada Parker interference or someone like that just so that Jordynne doesn't suffer too much, because this is what I think her second attempt at winning this title now, and I can't remember how the result of I know she obviously lost, but I can't remember how the match went down and how that finished. So it might be a case of that you need to do a screwy finish for this one.
Absolutely. Now, I suggested this at the start of the video that perhaps maybe NXT Battleground, there could be a Triple R invasion to start setting up the Worlds Collide show. Is this the perfect place to do it with Stephanie Vaquer?
Possibly. If anything, it probably makes the most sense to do it with this one because you want to protect Jordynne Grace from a loss. So I don't know who the AAA Women's Champion is, but I'll have a quick look. But you could easily do it here and it would make sense.
And also, if you go on WWE's website regarding this show, this is the highlighted match, which suggests this would main event the show. Even though it's not our main event on the stream, there is a possibility this could main event the show.
Yeah, possibly. It could. This is it. It could very well be, and the fact that they are two of the biggest stars. I mean, aside, like, because you think of every other match on this card, like Joe Hendry, Trick Williams has a draw about it, but because it being an NXT show, you're going to want to put two NXT stars at the headline. Like, we've had Joe Hendry main event at NXT pay-per-view before. So, yeah, I could possibly see this main event in, and that's how we get.
Well, while you're looking up the name, while you're looking up the name,
sorry.
I will quickly just go through a couple of predictions for us. We've got Jordynne Grace predictions from Aries and from Sid as well. Alan Ford in the house and says, really surprised we're not getting Stephanie versus Julia rematch. I am as well. They've not fixed that. We'll get
Wow.
to NXT in a second, but it says can't see Jordynne Grace winning the title, so going for Stephanie Vaquer to retain. So NXT, there's a lot of wows coming from you. Is that the name of the Triple R Women's Champion?
I tell you what, this is crazy. So the Reina de Reyes champion, which is what the women's champion is called in AAA, it's been held by someone called Flamer. She's had it since August 2023. She is on a 635-day run as champion, apparently. And yeah, that's do you know what I mean? As well, that kind of makes a lot of sense as well, just for the fact that it's such a monumental reign. To have that person come in and disrupt this match makes a hell of a lot more sense.
There we are. So we look out for the name Flamer potentially for Battleground. That would be quite fun to see. So yeah, let's see if that is what will go down. If you have any additional comments about this match, let us know in the comments below.
That young lady there.
There we are. That is Flamer there on the screen for you. Fantastic.
Lady Flamer, apparently.
Lady Flamer. Will she make an appearance at Battleground? Sid asked a question for us. What is your NXT dream match right now?
At the minute, I mean, I'm always partial to a North American Championship match, especially when you put a ladder involved. I think if you gave me Ethan Page, Ricky Saints, Javon Evans, I believe his name is Sean Legacy, give me those four, and Tavion Heights, and I don't know, so give me a sixth name. Just put me in a ladder match for North American Championship.
Sounds wonderful to me. I still am shocked we haven't had Trick versus Oba 1-on-1. That would probably be the pick for me, just because I want to. That feels like the biggest match you can put in NXT right now. But if you're going for pure match quality and stuff like that, we're actually getting a Battleground, and that is Stephanie Vaquer versus Jordynne Grace. That is the match I'm quite hyped for that in the dream match situation. But we've got one match left to discuss today, ladies and gents. And would an NXT wrestler leave with the TNA World Championship? Say his name and he appears. Joe Hendry will be defending the TNA Championship for the first time ever on a WWE show against Trick Williams. Whoop that Trick, or Mello's bitch, or is it just an average Joe? Depending on what your flavor was in NXT this past week with the music. But we will focus mainly on the in-ring action side of things. And this really kind of plays out from after WrestleMania, because obviously Joe Hendry was a part of WrestleMania, was the mystery opponent for Randy Orton, took a beautiful RKO after doing the Joe Hendry spin that we're used to seeing so well. Did perfect for its placement, and it's everything in with WWE and WrestleMania. It led to a fallout with Joe Hendry coming back on NXT the show after interfering with Trick Williams, who wanted a match with Oba Femi. And this started then the feud between these two. Trick Williams would get in at Rebellion and attack Joe Hendry after the show, or as the show was going off air, certainly after the main event. And it's just kind of been building since these two have had pull aparts, where Trick Williams has been invading TNA, Joe Hendry's been coming to NXT. So it's just kind of been a nice interpromotional match that's been built here. And of course, eventually we had Ava and of course the DOA, Santina Morella, agreed that this match would take place on Battleground, and it would be for the first time ever a TNA World Championship match on the WWE show. And of course, we've had many interpromotional championship matches at this point with TNA and NXT. NXT titles being defended in TNA, TNA titles defended in NXT. We have never had a title change hands. Could this be that moment? Of course, it could be. But will it? I'm going to pass over to NXT. If you thoughts and feelings with this feud, feel free with the prediction as well.
I was a bit gutted that Joe Hendry didn't get to, like, normally obviously when he does his singing and his songs, that he'll normally like gimmick infringes and steals a well-known song and plays off of that, and they kind of had to make him come up with his own one. And I just like, this was like very not late 90s, early 2000s promo stuff with music and rapping, and I was like, it's all bad. And then when you get Trick trying to use the fans to sing the lyrics to this song that no one knows, it's horrific, man. Look, I think Trick Williams wins this. I think he wins this TNA World Championship. And unfortunately, it's for the wrong reasons.
Oh.
Double or Nothing is the same night. And I think if you want a bigger talking point on social media, you have Trick Williams win the TNA Championship to take focus and media attention away from AEW's Double or Nothing. And I personally think that's why they're going to do it. And I think it's completely the wrong reason. We obviously have talked about at some point someone had to win this title, but I would not be surprised if Trick picks it up this Sunday. And WWE, it's going to be all over. Like, what's going to be more important? What you think about Monday morning? What's going to be everyone going to be talking about? AEW putting on a great show, which I'm sure they will, or Trick Williams being the first ever WWE star to win a TNA championship. Which one is the more talking point? Which one is going to get more clicks and more views and more social media interactions? And that's what I think it is, unfortunately. And I hate to say it because I think they will have a really good match. And inevitably, at some point, they were going to do this. They were going to put the TNA title on someone in WWE. I just think it's for all the wrong reasons.
It's interesting because I kind of agree and disagree with you. I agree with you because timing is where I agree with you.
How often do WWE have a show the same night as AEW?
Not so often, but it's becoming a bit more familiar that it can be on the same weekend or territories, let's say. It is creeping in, certainly in the last sort of year or so. But if you follow me on TikTok, you've probably heard me speculate about this match before, and this is where it comes in for me because I love this comment, by the way, from Sid. Said, "No way, Trick is winning the NXT title." I think it means the TNA title there, as this is for the TNA World Championship. See, I'm with NXT. I think Trick Williams is winning this championship, and here's my reasoning why. A, yes, there's the history element, but B, Joe Hendry. He is in his contract year, let's say. His contract with TNA expires later this year. I think it's safe to say at this point that Joe Hendry being in the Royal Rumble match, being at WrestleMania, countless times on NXT, even an NXT PLE main event last year, Joe Hendry, I think, probably has a good idea where his future is, and I think WWE know where his future is as well. If someone like John Cena or Randy Orton, I forget which one said this, and Joe Hendry made reference to this in his Chris Van Vliet interview, but said that's your first of many WrestleManias. It may have even been Triple H, to be fair. Triple H, there you go. So it's your first of many WrestleManias. Well, you're not going to be doing many WrestleManias if you're not a WWE superstar. So how you can do this where it works is that Joe Hendry can lose a TNA World Championship to a WWE superstar and not have to lose to a TNA superstar. And TNA will still get the rub by how they get their title back because they won't be beating Joe Hendry, one of their own. They'll be beating a WWE NXT superstar to get it back. A new star in TNA can be born through defeating Trick Williams. Joe Hendry is protected in WWE eyes because he's lost to one of their own. So for that reason, I think Trick Williams is going to win the TNA World Championship.
See, now I love that. That is what I want to be captivated by. I want that story. I want Joe Hendry to be fired by TNA. Make it an angle. Be like, look, we can't have you representing TNA when you've lost our title to a completely different company. Have him fired. And then Trick Williams can boast about Joe Hendry. Look, I took his title. He lost his job because of me, blah, blah, blah. Say his name and he appears. Joe Hendry is now on NXT, now contractually obliged to NXT. That's the stuff I want to be enamored in by and I want to be drawn in by. I think this could be so good. So good. I just get past Sunday, get past what I think is, don't get me wrong, I don't want that to be the reason why they're putting this title on Trick Williams, but it's just one of them things that if you logically think about it, they don't ever have shows on at the same time. How do we get much more of a views rate? How do we get more likes on social media? How do we get more shares on social media? How do we get more people talking about WWE? You have this moment. Otherwise, that's what I mean. The stuff you said is great. Just do all that stuff, man. It'll be so good. Like I said, just have Santina Morera fire Joe Hendry. How cool would that be? And I said, just have Trick whenever, just on a NXT show one Tuesday, just bragging about it, and Joe Hendry turns up. And then even do something, but like that's your way to introduce Joe Hendry to the NXT, and don't have it be a case of he attacks Trick Williams and then 4 weeks later he's signed in the contract. Have him already come out with a signed contract, because in that way, ultimately, TNA, like you said, TNA have the opportunity to build a new star. But Joe Hendry can be the reason that Trick Williams loses that title to that new star. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't give the new champion some sort of credibility, but like even like Frankie Kazarian wants to be TNA champion. It's the reason he went back there. 2 heels versus each other. Frankie Kazarian winning a TNA championship off of a screwy finish does wonders for him because he's a heel. Trick obviously loses because new babyface WWE superstar Joe Hendry causes him to lose that title. Yes, we're going to get more of Joe Hendry versus Trick Williams for the next, 3, 4, 5 months, however long they want to do this for. But it's the right thing to do. It's the way to make Joe Hendry a big star. It's the way to give... I don't even think TNA suffer from it really either by having Trick Williams be champion, because they get Trick Williams on their TV show every week. That's not a bad thing to have.
Trick Williams in the main event of Slammiversary defending the title in either a rematch against Joe Hendry, but I would like to say quickly, I love your idea of firing Joe Hendry, having
Joe
contracted.
Hendry,
I think he'll appear on TNA afterwards later down the line, invading the show as an NXT superstar. Like they can have like somewhere wiggle room if they want to do stuff like that. But at the same time, though, like it kind of cushions the blow of like Joe Hendry then going over to WWE, which we think inevitably is going to happen. It's a prediction at this point, everyone, not a spoiler, but it's a prediction of where we think he will go. But also, like, say it was Kazarian that won the title. Hill becomes face because he's rescued TNA and brought the title back. They can do so much with it. Do you know what I mean? Like they have the opportunity to make the next top babyface in TNA through defeating Trick Williams and winning their title back. And here's the other thing. They can do it better than AEW did it, because AEW had Kenny Omega win the TNA championship. And of course, he didn't lose the title back to TNA. He dropped it to Christian Cage to go and do the job into TNA or Impact at the time. Trick Williams will actually go and do the job, and the WWE guy will actually go and drop that title back. So, I think that'll be the right move going forward. So, I think it's win-win for everybody in the scenario. And that's why I think actually this makes the most sense as the first interpromotional title change in amongst these two brands working together.
100%. So, just get rid of the politics that is involved in trying to boost social media numbers. Just get past that and it'll all work itself out.
It all will work out perfectly. Here we go. Let's get one more.
How many people don't agree with what we've just said now?
No one has agreed with us in the comments, but everyone that's watching seems to be listening nonetheless. But Sid certainly would hate to see Trick win the title, so they would never watch his title run. He's just not a fan of him. Fair enough. There you go. I guess he wouldn't watch the NXT title run either for that point. So there you go. But that's pretty much all what we have to say here today. So I want to say thank you to everyone that's been watching today. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, share with a friend, subscribe as well, all that good stuff. NXT Battleground is this weekend. You probably think to yourself, well, Saturday night's main event. Look out for a sort of like a short video coming for that tomorrow. AEW Double or Nothing predictions will also be dropping tomorrow as well. And looking to make some time to try and do Under Siege as well. Maybe Friday could be the day that could be dropping for you as well. But that's all from us anyway. NXT, any final words before we sign off today?
No, by all means, man. It's always been a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to do these. Looking forward to watching Battleground and just, hopefully it all works out. We get what we want. We'll soon find out come Monday morning. We certainly will indeed. If you want to check out our latest Q&A as well, which involves who we think would be our early picks for winning Money in the Bank, go and check that out on the channel right now. It is in just pretty much on the video feed. Make sure to go on that and look at the live section. That's where you'll find that from us. But thanks for watching. Look after yourselves and each other. We will see you for the next one. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for watching.